Welcome to I Heart Geek.
Hey everybody, it's I Heart Geek. Did you miss me? Because I'm obnoxious and I know I haven't been around for a while. But I've got Kevin and I've got Ryan with me, and we are going to crawl out of the fallout, baby. Hi guys. So
Hey,
as you can see,
Courtney.
we're gonna
Courtney.
be talking about Fallout. You guys ready for this?
I've been waiting to talk about this for 3 weeks now.
So we're going to be obviously talking about the Fallout TV show, first season of Fallout, over on Amazon Prime. I am your quasi-host, Miss Geeky Page. With me is Kevin and Ryan. Okay, guys, let's talk about Fallout. And first off, let's talk about the games. I've never played the games, so I went into this blind. So tell me about the games, you guys.
Well, okay, so Fallout is a first-person shooter RPG set in an alternate futuristic universe. It's a split timeline from where we're at, and it's split about 1955. And nobody really knows when it's split, but around the 1950s. And where we pick up in the show is actually 2296. I'm sorry, 2077. That's when the big Great War happens. That was the first big bomb. So we're even more future than we are now, even though it looks like it's in the 50s. Mass wars happen. Atomic bombs were dropped, destroyed the world, and then 218 years later, you have an absolute wasteland that you're surviving in. And the show did a really good job. I know Ryan and I have talked about it, done a really good job of how the games opened. All of them kind of open when you're in the vault, except for New Vegas, where it's just you have no idea what's going on, and the show did a really good job about that.
There's 4 games, right? So there's Fallout 1, 2, 3, and then New Vegas, or are there 5?
There's 5 games. So you have Fallout 1 and 2, which are original Obsidian games. A lot of those guys who left that studio got the opportunity to rework on Fallout New Vegas. And that one, Fallout New Vegas, very different from Fallout 3, 4, and 76. Now, 76 and 4 are the ones that everybody's gravitating to right now, because the show's catapulted this thing back into attention. Fallout 3 is, I'll lead right into it. Fallout 3 is what episode 1 and 2 were. You basically have a tutorial hour in the first part of Fallout 3, and they hit everything in the first episode of the show. The birthday scene, we see a glimpse of the classroom, the camaraderie of being in the vault, and the vault tech, everything. They just, what they needed to do in episode 1 for Kevin and I, they did, and they did it really well.
Well, episode 1 was the absolute perfect amount of both fan service and world building to me, because and Courtney, I want to hear your reaction to it, because with me, I mean, everything about episode 1, even so far as at the end of the episode when they were shooting and everything, and you have the heads exploding almost from the guns and stuff. That's a really Fallout. It's comically gory, but in an okay way. And as soon as that started happening, I'm like, oh my God, this show, they did it perfectly. Corey, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, as I said, I've never played the games. I am familiar to a certain extent with Fallout. I kind of had a sort of an idea of what it was, never playing the games. But as the guys know, that whole era is one of my favorite kind of eras. And I really love Atom Punk and Diesel Punk, which is what this kind of stuff is. So we've all heard about steampunk, which is kind of like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But there are other variants of that kind of world, and that is Atom Punk and Diesel Punk, and that's what this is. And it's that atomic, but futuristic atomic kind of age. And also, I listened to a lot of the music that they used in the show and they used in the game. I listened to that on the daily basis. Anyways, so I got a massive kick out of, as Kevin was saying, here's this scene where everybody's heads are exploding and there's the gulper and there's all these gory, nasty things happening, and you're hearing bongo, 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 I don't want to leave the Congo by Danny Kaye and the Andrews Sisters. And I mean, it was just, it's that tongue in cheek that really just made me giggle a lot. And it's like somebody's getting their head blown off and I'm laughing like an idiot. I mean, it was just, that was a lot of fun. I know there's lots of Easter eggs involved in kind of this stuff. So I know that a lot of the music that they use comes straight from the game.
Mhm.
On YouTube, there is a best of Fallout radio playlist that I listened to at work. So I was familiar with all of the songs that they were going to use, not how they were used, but that they were going to use. But I know that there's like all sorts of other Easter eggy stuff that I missed because I don't play the game. I think maybe the only Easter eggy thing that I sort of kind of got is at the final episode when McLean walks into the desert and we see a bighorn sheep, sort of like
Deathclaw.
a mutated, a
Yeah,
mutated.
Deathclaw.
Yeah,
Deathclaw
I mean,
skull.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so the Death Call Club, which is literally just, it looks to me as a Nevadan, it looks like a mutated bighorn sheep, which are indigenous to Nevada. So I pretty much knew that that was going to be New Vegas. And then of course they turned around and I was like, oh, okay, there we go. Well, guys, what were some of the other really cool Easter eggy things that you guys caught that I missed as a non-game player?
There's a lot. So as far as like story wise, the water
We
chip,
only got an hour. Keep them little.
yep, the water chip scenario where where the water chip is broken, that's from Fallout 2.
Mm-hmm.
The dog meat that he's a big character for
Dog.
sidekick. I mean, he's a
I
sidekick to
love
you
the
in
dog.
Fallout
Can I
4.
I was
can I
extremely
say
girly
something?
when I thought the ghoul was going to kill the dog. I'm like, no, not the dog.
Dog
And then
meat,
it was okay.
as soon
I'm
as
okay.
dog meat came, I got all excited, and then they killed him, and I was like, "What? No, that's like a important part." And then all of a sudden, they raised him back, and I was happy. I'm sorry, Ryan, I interrupt you, but
You've got Lucy walking into the desert with him. That shot from the
Okie
back, that
dokie.
is straight them trying to replicate what you get in Fallout 4. You
Mm-hmm.
got the bobbleheads. My understanding is a little bit of my research outside of it is I saw that Todd Howard, who is like the director for Bethesda, said that this studio who made Fallout was so dedicated to putting Fallout in like physically that they were asking for 3D files of things and just 3D printing things and putting it into the show.
Another thing, let me just piggyback that. I was talking to a friend at work who is a huge Fallout fan and knew about this stuff. He was telling me that a lot of the extras that we see are, in fact, Fallout cosplayers. And they actually were asked to
oh
contribute
wow,
to some of the costuming and some of the set building because a lot of the show, yes, it is CGI, but a good portion of it is practical effects. Like they built the set for Philly. They built the vault.
That
These
the
aren't
Rocket
green
gas station
screen.
was a full
It's an
real.
actual gas station. Yeah, I mean it's these things were and like when he steps out into New Vegas and you see the desert, that's my backyard. So I mean, I thought that was a really fascinating thing too. Is like there's so many practical. They could have CGI'd the entire thing, but they
Aren't we
didn't.
all clamoring for practical effects at this
oh my
point?
yeah.
I think
And
we're
they
all over the
delivered on
CGI.
it, and
They
I
When
delivered it.
yeah, they
you
absolutely delivered it.
when you use practical effects and it's done right, it brings a certain magic to movie making that you just don't see anymore. You know, one of the things that were so great about the original Star Wars was the sets. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
sets, nobody had ever seen these sets before. And I don't want to compare this Fallout to Star Wars, but in a sense, the way they built these sets and the way it felt like you were in a game. That was the
Mm-hmm.
coolest thing. It felt like I was in the game, just with the music and everything. Even them doing the special, the SPECIAL in the beginning. That's how you upgrade your character in the
Mhm.
game. Is your strength, perception,
There you go.
all
More
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
Easter eggy
Charisma.
stuff.
And then and you see her, she's like, "You're special," and then she's shooting it and hitting it right in the bullseye. Like that's like straight out of, um, which was awesome, you know. And it's fun to see video game shows that they're not just frowned upon. Like your biggest concern is whenever you a movie or show. My biggest concern was, oh wow, I hope they don't screw this up,
Mhm.
you know. And they knocked it out of the park so much so that it's becoming a resurgence now, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, Courtney, we've gone over the beauty of the games, the beauty of what they brought from those games to live screen. We've gone over the practical effects. How about we ask our semi-finalist screenwriter about the writing?
Congratulations, Courtney.
Thank
Congratulations on
you.
that one.
Sorry, listeners. As you know, a lot of you know that I am a writer in my alternate life, and one of my sci-fi scripts has semi-finaled in a contest. So the guys are showing me some love. I appreciate it. Um, I really enjoyed the writing, because it was a great juxtaposition of that 1950s vernacular that we saw with like the okie dokie, and what was really fun how they used some of those lines. Like the okie dokies happened for Lucy whenever, stuff was going to hit the fan.
He's about ready
And
to cut the dude's head off. She goes, okie dokie.
okie dokie. I mean, it was a brilliant way of using that kind of vernacular. And but I mean, Ryan and I talked a little bit about it, and Kev, we'll put you in. Is we talked a little bit about some of the really impactful lines that we enjoyed. There was a lot of lighthearted ones that were funny, but then there were a lot of deep ones. I know, Ryan, you had a couple that you really liked. Why don't you? What do you think of
Yeah.
the?
So,
Share those with the class.
we talk about like there being a divergent point where this is not our reality, and there was a line between McLean and his buddy there, and he goes, "You might as well be asking why everyone prefers Jello cake to apple pie. I don't know why."
I don't know.
And it's like, well, it's as American as apple pie. Well, now this world's as American as Jello cake, and it's like it was the signifying point that this is not your reality. This
Mhm.
isn't where you're from. This
Mm-hmm.
is not where you're going. Hopefully, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when you talk about this show, they paced it so well. The comic relief of characters like Thaddeus.
Mm-hmm.
The Walter Goggins, as the ghoul is
Yeah.
unbelievable, but Thaddeus, like
He is a beast of acting in
Thaddeus and Lucy
this.
are like some kind of comic relief that you just needed in this show. It was gonna struggle without that. So they have these
Mhm.
lines where deciding if that's the head, and uh Thaddeus, even at the end of the show, "Oh, I'm so much better with a scope," and like that to me, Kevin, you can elaborate if you think I'm right.
Why am I not dead?
Yeah, it's kind of like a callback to the VAT system in the game. Is
Mhm.
like you
Mhm.
need the targeting system in that game,
Yeah.
or shooting stuff doesn't
The
work.
most annoying video
Oh,
game
it's the
system
worst.
mechanic of all time
You
That
can
is the
is
fight me
VAT
on that.
system.
It is the epitome of remove your like it takes me out of the game so badly every time.
So so what we're talking about, Courtney, is so the VAT system in the video game of Fallout. What it is, you're going around. So it's supposed to be a first person shooter. You're supposed to be shooting. The only game out of the entire series that got shooting right was Fallout 4, and it's not perfect, but it's manageable. All the other games, you're using a system where you're vast. So you have all these creatures, and all of a sudden you got to like zoom in and go shoot, and then you pick out which body part you want to shoot. But what winds up happening is you only have so much to do that with, and then you run out of like points. Well, then you can't do it anymore. So now all of a sudden, because you can't shoot it all, everybody's just shooting at you, and it's the most frustrating thing
Yeah,
about the
you're
games.
you're
Well, and then
constantly like spamming to get back into the system,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
and then that scene makes a whole lot of sense where he's just shooting, like raining
he's hitting
down fire on
and
Lucy and
nothing's hitting.
Max and not hitting anybody.
Right.
So I mean, that
100%.
was funny for me that he wasn't hitting anybody, but for the game players, it would be even funnier because you understand why he's not hitting anybody.
Mhm.
And that brings me to another really interesting thing about this show that I really loved, and that scene. So the cameos in this are insane. You've got Michael Rappaport as Titus. which was also the name of his show. You've got Fred Armisen as the DJ. You had
That one made me laugh.
Eric Estrada
Eric Estrada, yeah.
as the lead farmer that Goggins shoots his kid. I mean, these random people are just popping up all over this universe, and it, like, Estrada took the thing off, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that? No, I had to look it up. So I mean, that's the other thing is clearly the creative team behind this show is just calling in people everywhere. And I mean, I would not be surprised if season 2 we see Linda Carter showing up, because her son is one of the producers, one of the executive producers. So that makes it really fun, because you've got something happening. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that's no.
So for me, one of the things I would like to see, like if we're looking ahead to season 2 and like some of those people to show up, like how great would it be to see like Ron Howard, like an Andy Griffith character, like bring somebody back from like the TV Land stuff and put him on the screen, or even one of the Brady Bunch, like something like that. Like that's what I want to see going forward. The outlook on this show is phenomenal. Courtney, the life this show gave the games. I was looking, sales charts in the UK, and 3 or 4 of the games were in the top 10 of sales. Like the newest one's 8 years old. It's unbelievable.
What was really cool about this, we started to watch this. We chat with each other and we said, hey guys, Fallout's out. And we all, I think, sat down to watch it in our respective homes. And we said, wait a minute, did they release all the episodes at once? Basically, Amazon Prime just said, here, take it. Just take the whole thing. And, they could have parsed it out, but I think part of the success of it too was that they dropped it all at once, and then everybody could either binge it all at once or they could watch it over a period of whatever they wanted. Like you guys watched it pretty close to binging
About
it.
a week.
Yeah. I just finished the last episode this morning before we did the show. And I mean, another thing that I thought was interesting, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. So episode 1 and 2 seemed very heavy and very slow, not in a bad way, but very heavy and very slow. But when I was sitting down to watch episode 2 and 3, 3, 4, and 5 kind of roll. I mean, it's like the credits roll and you're like, wait a minute, I just started this episode. So they started to pick up steam as they got closer to the 8th episode, to the finale. The finale slowed down a little bit more because there was more exposition that they had to provide to us, but it didn't stop the flow, in my opinion.
Well, it's really interesting how they built this show, because it's the first of all, you do have your side quest show, which Goggins' character says one of the rules of the Wasteland is you got to constantly be
trying to survive.
Well, no, he says you got to be constantly distracted by all kinds of BS.
That's right.
That's the game. You're constantly going on side quest. I'm going on this main quest, and all of a sudden, 3 hours later, you haven't even touched the main quest. But the first 7 episodes was world building. So it was who's this character? Who's that character? Who's this world? Here's this land. This happened at this date. This happened in this area. Here's this creature. But because there was so much world building and it was so good, that in episode 8, they just answered everything. And it was actually really, it was like the dominoes were hit and they all started falling down right in place as everybody converged on the one area.
And there's still enough in the air that you want to watch season 2. Sometimes with these shows, I think it's like what happened with Game of Thrones. I think too much stuff was held back. And then sometimes they either give you too much and you just don't care what's coming out, or they don't give you enough. I think this gave you just enough of what we needed to tie things together to carry us on to season 2, which we now know is going to take place in New Vegas. I'm excited as a Vegas girl, but I don't know
the
what's gonna
story
happen because
there is
I've never played the game.
the story there for like New Vegas and that scenario that they can present there, especially with the way they did season one,
Mhm.
is wildly intriguing. But I'm curious how you guys liked them just dropping all the episodes. I'm a father of three kids. I don't have the time. I didn't
I
like it.
No, I don't like it.
I want the week. I love the
Yes.
week by week suspense. I like that, you know, when we do shows like this, we can all pace each other. We're all gonna wrap it
Mhm.
up at the same time. Um, I think it was great the way they kind of like out of left fielded everything. They like moved their release date up. They didn't tell anybody they were gonna drop all the episodes. I thought that was great. Um, but I think as far as the pacing and what I need that show to be every week. I need an every week show because I can't keep up with everybody else with everything going on.
Well, it ruins the conversation in part because if you're having a show once a week, okay, I know you guys are going to watch this episode within these 4 days. So I'm not going to talk to you, but within the 4 days, I'm going to talk to you. With this right here, you're constantly saying, okay, well, what episode do you want? What episode do you want? Oh,
Mhm.
wait a second, did that episode in episode 3 or 4? I don't want to talk to you about it. It ruins the conversation, which I think is really special about shows like this.
Right, and we were
You
kind of
know?
put behind the 8 ball in terms of, like, doing this show, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we almost not gonna say we missed the opportunity, but, you know, with how like, how quickly it comes out and how
Mhm.
quickly everybody wants to talk about it, you know,
So
they tighten the window there versus, like, an 8-week release.
Mhm.
that kind of leads into my next question for you guys. What do we want to see in season two? Obviously, you guys would like to see that it be a weekly show as opposed to dropped all at once. But what are some of the other things? Because we know we're going to get a season two because they announced it that it's already been renewed. In fact, I think it hadn't even come out. First season hadn't even come out yet. It was like on the verge of being released, and they said yes, it's coming back for season two, which is good since they left us with the cliffhanger ish that it's New Vegas. And then they've also, what I've read is that a character of Mr. House. Maybe you guys can talk
Mhm.
on that. What do we hope to see in season two? I just want to see more 1950s Atom Punk, Diesel Punk fun. What do you guys want to see?
I want to first of all, I want to see a Death Claw. We were Death Claws
And
were
that's the bighorn sheepy thing,
the
right?
big horn sheepy thing. Those things
Okay,
are
that's the technical term.
atrocious, atrocious in fall. They're so difficult to kill, and they're definitely late game creatures. But the fact that we got the skull, meaning it's going to be coming, and so I really want to see a
There
Death
were a
Claw.
couple of them actually.
hmm As far as the skulls, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
As far as the game, um, you know, I with season 2, I'm interested in what are we gonna resolve storyline-wise? Um, the game presents 3 al you have 3, 4 choices as to how the game ends, and, season 2 is gonna make one of those endings canon, and 3 of those endings are not going to be canon. So what becomes canonical in the Fallout universe? That's gonna be an interesting point for myself. I know what I think should happen, um, and I think you're gonna love the Mr. House character. He's this looming figure in New Vegas, and
Mhm.
he's almost like Oz and the Wizard of Oz. He's like
And
this
I do want to see
mythical
Wayne
guy in the
Newton come
background.
back as the radio announcer for New Vegas because it's just me and my Vegasy thing. Kevin, do you have anything else that you're kind of looking forward to in
yeah,
season two?
yeah. So I want to get more backstory on the Enclave. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna see, and I want to talk about our favorite characters too, but we're gonna
Is
we're gonna wind up seeing Maximus go into knighthood, right? Like, so he was Moldinger. They think that he killed Moldinger, and so
mm-hmm.
Moldheimer, and so now he's gonna be knighthood, and we're gonna be able to see the inner workings of the Brotherhood of Steel, the actual inner workings. We're gonna be able to be point blank with it. I want to see more of the Enclave. I want to see what's going on
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes. Who are they? Why were they associated with those three vaults? Because usually the
Mm-hmm.
vaults are just singular vaults and they have experiments in singular
Mm-hmm.
vaults. These three vaults were interconnected and they didn't have the big bosses, but they definitely had bosses there. So is
Yeah.
there another vault that's even better than there? And is that where the ghoul's wife and kids are? You
Yeah.
know? And are we gonna? We're probably gonna see his wife and kid in the future somewhere, and that reunion I don't think is gonna be as bows and whistles. You know?
Oh, yeah, most likely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
my friend I was talking to, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, did tell me that 31, 32, and 33 are configured differently than any other vaults,
Yep.
and they're
Yep.
connected as no other vaults are, and that's like a big, which is interesting because if you think about it, so there's those 3 vaults, but in the grand scheme of the show, and I'm sure it's the same thing in the game, is there are 3 large-ish factions. There's the Brotherhood of Steel, there's the Vault Dwellers, and then you could say the Ghoul is a factor, but not really. It's more Maldiver's New California Republic kind of thing. So there's technically 3 factions, but there's the 3 interconnected. So that number 3
There's
maybe that's something to
there's a
that
lot
that
there's a lot more factions than that. You have the New California Republic, you
yeah,
have
which will
the
probably open up
Enclave, you have the
farther when we
Brotherhood of
see it.
Steel.
Yeah.
You have in terms of New Vegas, you have everything going on with Mr. House. He has a
Mhm.
whole group of people, and then there's another faction that are like worshippers of like ancient Rome. I forgot what the name of them are. Um, but you have them as well to deal with, and that's what I'm saying is like what's going to be interesting is how they present the New California Republic and the downfall of it, what leads to the Sandy Shores situation. It's going to be really interesting because they're going to have to delve into that. They're going to have to answer something as to what happened.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: what was your guys' favorite character and least favorite character? Ryan?
My favorite character is certainly Thaddeus. My least favorite, I don't think I have a least favorite in this show. Um, Lucy grew on me. I'm not a big Walter Goggins fan, but he was great in this. He was unbelievable in this. My opinion is null and void prior to this show now. So I'm gonna say I don't really have a character I didn't like. Some of the stuff with the Brotherhood of Steel, I wasn't like a massive fan of, but I thought Maximus grew on me. Thaddeus, hilarious, beautiful comic relief. It's well written.
Mhm.
Oh, I love Thaddeus, and he's like, "Why aren't I dying?"
Why didn't I die? Oh, that's good. So
Or the
Kevin,
only
who
girl.
mine, yeah, I'm 100% that Ghoul girl. The thing is Walton Goggins is a beast of a character actor. So, to go from like the character Venus that he played in Sons of Anarchy, and then to Uncle Baby Billy and the Righteous Gemstones, and then to the Ghoul in Fallout. I mean, it's a lot. He's just the acting, he kills me with that. It's so much. Yeah, I was feeling that Ryan did is like I think Maximus, I didn't particularly care for him at first, but he did grow on me. Um if I had to pick a least favorite character, it would probably be Steph, but that's only because I don't know what her agenda is. And I know we're gonna find out more about her because she's the new interim overseer of 32.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just that's probably my only issue is I just don't know. I don't know what's lurking, and there has to be something lurking. But I have a feeling that we're gonna find out more about her in season 2. And I so I don't know if she's my least favorite character or just the one that I'm not as invested in as everybody else.
That's actually my favorite character is Goggins, the Ghoul, by far. What a uh, nuanced character! That character shows you what a good man becomes in the wasteland. He's been in the
Mhm.
wasteland for 200 and something years, 218 years,
Mhm.
and he's lost his nose. He's turned into a ghoul. He's taking mass amounts of drugs all the time, and he's killing people left and right. And this was a good man, a good fatherly, role model before. That's the wasteland, and just the nuance of that character to where you start this character off going, "Hey, this guy is evil," and then the more you learn him, it's like, oh well, I think I might be doing the exact same thing in his situation, which I think is really cool because he's a murderer, but
He's
yet
very
you
much
relate.
very
You
much an
relate to him.
anti-hero. Yeah, very
Yeah.
much an anti-hero. He's not a hero, he's not a villain. He is that morally gray
hmm
character because he's just looking for his family, but
He's
he's
chaotic good.
also a murdering ghoul. I
He's
mean,
chaotic good. Yeah.
I mean, like when he killed the one ghoul, and that's another one of those lines, Ryan. I can't say it on the podcast because it has a dirty word in it, but he said jerky doesn't make itself. I'm like, that's so gross.
He's eating the guy.
So gross. But it is what he is. So
He is what
yeah.
the
My least,
wasteland is.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
Wastelanders.
Also,
Yeah,
And
we
my
didn't
least
talk.
favorite
exactly.
character is
We didn't talk
definitely.
about Headsworth, the floating robot in Super Duper Mart.
Oh,
I thought that
Edgeworth.
was
You know,
great
Snip,
too. That was so
snip,
good.
snip, snip,
Yeah,
he
snip.
plays a
he's so
that
good.
that robot.
That was so well done.
Robco.
Well,
Robco.
the
And
the head on the brain on the Roomba
yeah.
as
So
well. I mean, it was pretty funny.
So Robco, they mentioned, and remember that the room in the very last episode where they're all there and you have all the big
Yep.
wigs up on the vaults. They those signs were all important, but Robco is very, very important in the games, and that's the one that creates all the robots and androids and everything else.
Hmm.
And so when I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, look at that! And it's just like what they would do.
And it's again the cameos again because it's Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows. It's like I heard the voice and I'm like, wait a minute, is that? So yeah.
So this show gives me so much hope for Borderlands. I know
Hopefully.
this isn't about
Yeah.
Borderlands,
I know
but
it's
they did this
different
show so
studio,
right.
so
I know.
but we
We're
can
hoping
hope.
this
We
show
can
was
hope.
done the way it should have been.
We've done the Vault Dwellers. Now it's time to do the
Yeah.
Vault Hunters.
Well, and I will say what for a grand scheme of television, the fact that this is so successful and it's caused a resurgence in the video games and so forth is a really good thing because a lot of the talk out of Hollywood in the studios with it, they were only going to make shows that were 2 seasons long, but also they weren't going to do any heavy effects laden shows because of the cost. But the fact that this one is like the number one show in the country right now, it it bodes well that we might get more things like this. Which,
Mhm.
it we had the video game shows like The Last of Us, which was pretty dark and pretty grim. While this has the darkness and the grim, it's still lighthearted, colorful, and fun. So it
The
walks that really cool line of being a drama adventure show, but also it's funny and it's candy colored and it's full of spam.
a perfect example of what you're talking about there is what was the girl with the blonde hair that got her eye poked out in the beginning?
Steph, she's the one that makes
Okay, yeah,
me.
Steph. All
She's
right.
up to no good.
So Steph's there. She gets a freaking arrow in her eye. She goes, the arrow's sticking out of her eye, and she just, but it's the most outrageous thing ever. Like it doesn't even affect her, and but that's that's perfect.
And I feel like that's true to what happens in a game.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
no?
It's
Yeah.
just
I
the most
mean, so
ridiculous
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, or
And
like the other thing is the guns that the shooting and the violence is so over the top.
the top.
Like that's what I noticed in the fight scene in Philly when the ghoul is just, laying waste to everybody. It's like it is that exaggerated video game kind of shooting and gunshot wounds and things of that nature. And it was almost comical as it was happening. And I kind of dug that.
Well, there's a handful that they certainly can pull from. Kevin mentioned Borderlands, that'd be great. Horizon, those two games are unbelievable. Some of the
Borderlands is getting a TV show.
it
Yeah.
is.
I don't know if it's
And
a TV show or a movie. I think it's a movie, actually.
well, is it going to be a good movie? So
I
that
don't
that
know.
that
It's got
that
Kate
that
Blanchett in it.
that's the
So,
question. So I'm just pointing out that there's properties within
hmm
video games. One of the things they seem to struggle with now is unique stories. There's a
hmm
ton of them to pull from. Near Automata being one, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon. They could do a Dark Souls show, Skyrim. I mean, Red Dead Redemption. I mean,
hmm
there's a million stories they could quickly
They could
translate
just give me an
to
LA
the.
Noir TV
An
show.
LA Noir would be great.
Only if I'm in the writer's room.
Yeah.
If you're listening. So
Well,
we agree. We loved it, and we love we can't wait for season 2. What were you
Yep.
going to say, Kev?
I said, well, I think that's a show.
I think it's a show
I
too.
think it's a show.
This has been iHeart Geek. Like, share, and subscribe. We got Ryan, Courtney. I'm Kevin. Have a great day.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.